Seth Godin's new book, Linchpin, is on sale now. Up next is an interview Courtney conducted with Bob Burg, author of The Go-Giver, along with John David Mann. Their new book, Go Givers Sell More, is on sale this month.
The original book, The Go-Giver, of course, is told in the form of a parable, a business fable. And it's simply that the basic premise is simply that shifting one's focus from getting to giving, in this case, constantly and consistently adding value to people's lives, is not only a nice way to live life, but a very financially profitable way as well. In Go Givers Sell More, we simply take the 5 laws of the parable and we gear them directly to the sales process, the selling process. There's almost an overriding premise that it's not about you, it's about them. And what we're really wanting to do is focus today's salesperson on the other person as opposed to themselves in just maybe the techniques that they've learned.
So that seems kind of counterintuitive. I mean, if I were trying to sell something, I feel like I'd be pretty focused on making the sale, on what I'm going to get out of it.
It is a little counterintuitive, and that's the point. And really, that's what the top salespeople do to add value. And again, it can be done in many ways. It doesn't necessarily have to cost a lot of money. But there's always that feeling of giving that customer much, 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 much more in value than what they're paying for.
That's nice, but I mean, couldn't you just define value as telling your customer just what they want to hear and making them feel like they're getting something more than what the product actually is?
Well, and you could do that, but that wouldn't be sales. That would be conning someone. And there's a big difference between a con artist and a salesperson. One of them is that the salesperson has the other person's interest in mind. The con artist has their own interest in mind. And, practically speaking, the con artist can make sales. They can have a certain amount of financial success, but typically it doesn't last for long. And they get caught. And it's just, it's not a good way to live life. Most of the salespeople who we know who've been just extremely successful in most companies, they run an honest ship. They run a good business and they want to serve. Hey, you know what? In a free enterprise-based economy, and this is important, the only way you can make a lot of money is by providing value to someone and touching the lives of a lot of people with that value. When nobody has to buy from you, which is the element of free enterprise, people don't have to buy from you. They can if they decide it's in their best interest. You've really got to be able to come through, and that's why through the years we've had great inventions, we've had greater products, we've had more speed, more quality, more convenience, more comfort, because these people know just out of vested self-interest that's how they're going to get their new customers and clients, by providing so much great value.
I'd really like to hear about how you came to write these books and what sort of drove you to share this message.
Well, years ago, I had a book out called Endless Referrals, and it was a how-to. I had started to see for years these new business parables, these fables, sort of come into play, and I loved them. I'd pick them up and I'd read them on a flight from one city to the next, or I just enjoyed them, and I thought, I'd love to take the basic principles of Endless Referrals and kind of gear that, put that in the form of a business parable. Well, it's interesting. There is a huge difference between writing a how-to book and writing a fictional book, a business parable. And I saw from the beginning that I was absolutely not qualified. I happened to know a brilliant author by the name of John David Mann, who was editor-in-chief of a magazine I used to write for. And, we got to be good friends, and he eventually helped edit the 3rd edition of Endless Referrals. He worked with me on another book. And so I asked him if he would take a look at some just very sketchy notes I had put together regarding the Go-Giver. And I got to tell you, while John and I, went through the process of the book together, and it was a lot of fun, John is the reason that the Go-Giver turned out as it did. He gave life to those characters, and he put that story together so it read the way it did. So I was just very, very blessed to have the honor to work with John.
So the book is a parable. Are any of the people in the Go-Giver based on real people?
Yeah, actually, they are. The main mentor, Pindar, is based on a gentleman by the name of Bob Proctor, who was a teacher, speaker, author on prosperity that John and I have both known directly and indirectly for years. I've been on stage with him a couple times. John has worked with him at the magazine. And so Pindar was based on Bob. We kind of, I think, pictured Pindar and Bob Proctor, his voice, his mannerisms as we were putting Pindar together.
Does Bob know that he has become a famous fictional character?
Yeah, he does. The few times I've seen him since then, I refer to him as Pindar, and he knows. Now, Pindar, the name, was taken as a way of John honoring one of his professors, Peter Pindarus Stearns, and so we took the name Pindar. Now, Joe is just the average Joe. So I figure we're all Joe, or we've all been Joe at some time in our lives. But other characters, Deborah Davenport, based very, very loosely on another friend of ours, Terry Murphy, who is somebody I call the $14 million woman, because she used to, when she was in real estate sales back in the late 80s, she used to sell from the whole 80s, but she used to sell $14 million of real estate year in and year out, good market or bad. And as Terry says, that's when $14 million was a lot of money. So, but other characters through the book were either compilations of characters based on characters. Certain situations in the book actually happened. We just attributed them to different characters. So yes, there was a lot of life in that book.
You got tremendous feedback from the first book, as I recall. I know that a lot of people sort of responded to you and gave you stories about how they'd actually put the Go-Giver to use in their real lives, and I'd love to hear a few of those stories of the most successful Go-Givers in action.
Oh, and there were so many of these stories. There's Joe and Renee, who have a carpet cleaning business, who went into somebody's home, and it was an elderly couple, and they noticed the pictures were off the walls, and the frames weren't even up there. Not the frames, but the holders weren't up there. Right. And they actually went back a week later just to fix them. And the people were so grateful and said, we can't pay you anything. And Joe and Renee said, that's okay. We just kind of saw this here, and we'd like to do it for you. And they didn't ask for anything. They didn't. But you know what? These people tell other people. Well, Joe and Renee were awarded their local Chamber of Commerce's Business of the Year award, and just the extra income they make from that is just astounding.
It seems like Go-Givers Sell More is directed just at salespeople, but are there other takeaways for people who aren't necessarily in sales?
Well, in a sense, really everybody is in sales, because we're all selling something, a product, a service, a concept, an idea, and really we need to be able to sell other people. More again, when we say sell, we're saying giving value. We need to be able to sell other people on our ideas in order for our ideas to be accepted.
Bob, thank you so much for getting on the podcast with us today.
Oh, thank you. It's been such a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.